Cool. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for being patient. We'll getting going. This is the Kubernetes SIG cluster lifecycle cluster API provider, Azure office hours, and it is November 11th. As you probably all know, we try to abide by the CNCF code of conduct here, which you should read, but it basically boils down to everybody be polite and be nice to each other. And let's try and use the raise hands feature in Zoom rather than talk over each other. Let me share my screen with the agenda here. Yeah, so let's get going. Yeah, if you have a second, please go ahead and sign in for the attendee list. Do we have any folks who are here for the first time? I'm not actually sure if who want to say why you're here and just introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm here for first time, then like just joining to listen in. We are trying to use like AKS managed through cluster API. So
oh, nice.
Yeah,
we're trying really hard to fix some stuff around that. That's great. Welcome. Anyone else? I guess I don't think so. All right. Really, the only thing we have on the agenda is something Cecile suggested, which is let's revisit the milestone that we have for 1.1. So we're intending to release this next month, and so far we have, I guess, 3 ideas as to what we should make sure is in there. Add Azure cluster templates so we fully support cluster class. Async reconciliation is obviously in progress. There's a lot of work to do there, but I think we're about halfway, roughly. But Jonathan Tong is sort of taking this on. Migrate templates to cluster class and consistent logging. I think that would be awesome. That's actually quite a bit of work, as David demonstrated in his PR. So these are the 4 suggestions currently for what we should try to get in the next minor release. If you think these are good ideas, go ahead and vote them up, but it would also be great if we could get some more suggestions in here. Cecile was suggesting that we could finalize this, I think meaning call it good. But I don't know if we should leave feedback open a little longer, if everybody's come up with all the ideas they have or not. Does anybody have any comments or questions about the milestone? Somebody just add something? I saw it move. No, maybe a vote came in. I mean, I kind of think if you squint your eyes, this is actually a decent chunk of work for the next release if we got all these things done, but we could certainly try to do more. Any comments? Any feedback? Nope. Shyam?
Just one thing on the cluster class is that we are dependent on CAPI merging the patching functionality. So yeah, before we can like actually migrate the templates to cluster class.
Okay. Just maybe put a comment here. This is dependent on CAPI analyzing cluster class support. It's not totally in our control, but okay. Well, if no one has any feedback, obviously you can probably guess this is what ends up being in the milestone, but I think we still have, a couple days to come up with other ideas or prioritize things. So if you have opinions here, please weigh in.
Matt?
Yep, David.
Thank you. I think I'm going to go through here and I think add some items for AKS. There's a handful of things that that I think we need to get in, especially during failure cases for managed clusters. conditions is top of mind. I think there's a handful of options that folks are missing, and I think we should prioritize the refactor. The way I'll probably phrase it up is all the work that we need to do to get managed clusters out of experimental into stable release. Zane, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think like that's right. That would be really helpful. Like other than that, like I think like we can, when we are designing like any options, we can be considered like looking into others like providers like AWS or anything like that, so we don't go too off the road, right? And just not add all the options, but just like one by one, like which feels like more controllable way. And like, for example, I opened one like PR for the auto scaling, but like I'm just leading by the AWS, like that already support that, and not adding the API names as they are in the Azure, right, API. So I think like if any guidance on that, that will be helpful also. And but yeah, otherwise, like what you said, like there are like I think just 3 or 4 like options that would be good to be support, and it should be good enough to go.
Cool. Yeah, we'd all like to see AKS be more stable, and sounds like the code is kind of a thicket. I haven't looked at it that much. Cool. Any other ideas or feedback about the 1.1 milestone we're going to try to do for next month? David's going to add something about AKS, and I guess that's it for now. All right. David wants to talk about AKS test issues. We were just doing that, but presumably you have more detail.
Sorry, just want to get that item in there real quick.
worries.
Okay, so cool. In 1850, I think we have stabilized the tests. It was actually a really weird issue in Azure. So what we were seeing is a period of time when managed clusters would create, they would create the node pools associated to it. But when we would ask to list the VMSSs that are associated to the node pools to then pull the instance IDs from those node pools so that we could populate the provider IDs and then finish the reconciliation of the Azure managed machine pools, Azure was responding back to us in some cases with an empty 200. So the list call, the get, would respond to us with an empty 200 when we would get and try to list the VMSSs in the node resource group. This appears to be a bug in Azure right now, where let's imagine the VMSSs were created in Western Europe, and our test is running in the Pacific Coast, somewhere in California or Seattle or something. And we make a call to list the VMSSs, and it goes to a local data center somewhere that's far from West Europe. We are not seeing cache updates in that local data center. So the VMSSs don't show up in our list calls. However, if we were to call directly to West Europe, we would see the VMSSs as being there and ready to go. So what this code change does is it directs calls for VMSS list calls, so that we are directing it to the region where we expect them to be. And the latency for cache updates there are extremely low. We are working behind the scenes to determine the root cause of these latencies, or the latency spikes, because occasionally it does work. Seeing like it works really well in near regions and then fails more often in far regions. So we are working with the Azure folks behind the scenes to make sure that this this gets fixed. In the meantime, and possibly for long term, I think directing to a specific region is actually a good path forward. Anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions because I've heard you talking about this for the last few days. It's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, this is definitely aberrant behavior.
Yeah. But we really appreciate you digging in because this is kind of several
Thanks.
people have tried and failed previously to figure this out. So this is great.
This was a tough one. If anybody has any questions about it or would like to take it offline, please just contact me. I'm happy to talk through it.
Cool. If we don't have any comments or questions about AKS VMSS stuff, that is all we have on the agenda. Does anybody have any random thoughts or topics they want to bring up? I guess not. Let's call it a quick meeting. Have a great Thursday. We'll see you here again in a couple weeks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.